Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing off my Breya Etherium Shaper deck, and I'll talk about the cards in it. As you can see, this is not a real Breya. I believe my buddy gave me this card, and I believe the person who made the proxy is It Resolves on Instagram. I believe that's his account. So shout out to that dude. I like your proxies. Anyway, continuing on, there's a sort of order to it, so I'll show you how it goes. So first we're going to start off with colorless lands. So Inventor's Fair, I think it's an auto-include even though it's 4-color, because life gain's not really relevant, but what really is relevant is having a hard tutor on a land. I'm going to be quick about all the cards, not going to waste too much time on any of them. Darksteel Citadel, it's an artifact land, it's indestructible, taps for mana, works with a lot of things. Seed of the Synod, it's an artifact land and it's blue. I run 2 of each basic in the deck. In the artifact lands, except, obviously, I'm not running green basics or anything green. So starting off, and they're snow covered, no particular reason. They're just there. If in the box of Modern Horizons, so they're there. Starting out with Shocklands, we're going to be running all the Shocklands for the duels, which is mainly there just to kind of keep the deck consistent. This is, Breya, so typically I believe this is probably one of my more competitive decks, if not my most competitive deck. And it's not really that competitive. Sea of Clouds is good. I just hit the table and shook it, but I'll keep that in frame. Sea of Clouds is good in Commander. It's pretty much made for Commander, but not really because it's made for Battle Bond. But having a pretty much duel come in untapped with little to no downside, pretty good. Now these are all my lands that tap for, I'll say, all colors. Mana Confluence, Pay a Life, not super relevant, especially when you're playing a 4-color deck. You got to keep that in mind with all the lands as you're playing a 4-color deck. Spire of Industry, taps for a colorless, but realistically, you're just going to pay the 1 life. It's pretty much Mana Confluence if you have an artifact, and the entire deck is just artifact combo. Exotic Orchard, a lot of people don't run this card in competitive, but I mean, honestly, if you're playing 4 colors, the likelihood that anyone's playing one of your colors just makes it a duel at the worst, or it makes it a mono at the worst, and a duel most likely, but typically, it's going to hit like pretty much every color you're going to need. Command Tower, run it in every deck. City of Brass, just a slightly worse Mana Confluence. Glimmer Void, you're most likely having an artifact, and even if you don't, I mean, it just goes away at the end of a turn, which isn't too bad, especially when, it's a 4-color deck and you got to hit those colors early on. I run all the Tri-lands, just because this deck is kind of budget, kind of not, and I think they get the job done. 0 mana artifacts. Everflowing Chalice. I was thinking about putting this in the 2 slot just because I usually kick it for 2 unless I just need like an artifact cast trigger. Then I'll just do it for 0. Also in the 0s are Walking Ballista and Hangerback Walker. Walking Ballista is, if I get infinite mana, that's just like one of my kill win cons. Walking Ballista is just kind of there if I need to kill it and make a lot of 1/1s. Say I have like a Porphyros on the field, but we'll get to that later. Gamble, probably the best tutor in red. I can't really think of another red tutor that's pretty much comparable. If you guys can, please let me know. But searching your deck for a card and putting your hand, worst case scenario, you discard it. And then if you do, just quit Magic because that's a rough time. Enlightened Tutor pretty much does put any card to the top of your deck. Well, artifacts and enchantments, but artifact combo, cut me a break. Preordain from the new set. Not really new, but it's pretty good, especially as a little cantrip. Scry 2, draw 1, really good for 1 mana. Goblin Welder does the old switcheroo with your artifacts on the field and the artifacts in your grave. Solid recursion, don't have any issues with it. Dispatch, it's just 1 mana exile. I think it's pretty good. Sensei's Top, not going to say anything other than it's Sensei's Top, you just run it. Path to Exile from Gideon's, non-foil, didn't get that one. Got a foil Worship, sold it for $8. I digress. Pretty good removal, especially in more competitive formats where you got to get rid of those high mana CMC creatures or the problem creatures quick. And don't want my opponents gaining a lot of life with swords. Serum Visions, slightly worse Preordain, but still pretty good. Skull Clamp, Breya, when she comes in, she makes 1/1 Thopters. Pay 1 mana, draw 2 cards, kill a Thopter. Soul Ring, it's Soul Ring. Thelwar Stone, same thing with Exotic Orchard. It's going to hit pretty much all your mana, and it's just going to be a rock. Sword of the Meek, that's kind of there for the combo with another Cripple Sea. Dockside Extortionist, it's going to come down and just gain you a bunch of treasure. It's this 2-mana ramp, and the likelihood if you're playing in a competitive format that your opponents don't have multiple rocks turn 1 or 2, it's pretty unlikely. Cyclonic Rift, 1 mana or 7 mana board white. Time Sieve, sack 5 artifacts or sack your field if you can. Take an extra turn. Usually not worth it, but in a pinch it pays off, especially if you can get infinite tokens, which happens, get infinite turns. Treasure Map, just good for scrying, and eventually it's mana fixing and card draw. Thopter Foundry is the combo, but sort of the meek, because it's essentially pay 1 mana, make a 1/1 and gain a life. Get infinite mana, you get infinite Thopters, and you gain infinite life. Nim Death Mantle. The main reason I built Breya was because of Nim Death Mantle and the Ashnod's Altar combo, which if you don't know, you get infinite Thopters and you get infinite mana. And with Breya, that means you deal infinite damage, you gain infinite life. P. Apollo from the new set. I like all the foil cards. Don't know why people are still not including the new foils. Regardless, this is for the Grand Arbiter combo. Get infinite colored mana turn 3. Seems pretty good. Etherium Sculptor, really good cost reducer. Just very solid. Narset Parter of the Veils. Minuser, you typically hit things, but half the reason it's in here is just so your opponents can't draw cards. Commander Sphere, a little bit slow, but it's a 4-color deck and you need all the fixing you can get, and this is still kind of on a budget. Fabricate's just a hard tutor for an artifact. Just get a game-winning combo. Basalt Monolith, it's Basalt Monolith, goes infinite with Rings of Bright Hearth, tap on tap effects, if you can get anything like that. And also that new Simic Human, that's an infinite combo with that right away, but I can't run him in here. Chaos Warp is just good removal, and if you need to, do it on yourself and take a chance at luck. Psymaster Thopterist, you just get a lot of artifacts and mainly just blockers if you need them, or sack fodder, or draw fodder. He's just a kind of a jack of all trades. Staff of Domination is if you just get infinite mana, you just win. And plus it's just kind of good utility if not. Trinket Mage is going to come in, it's going to get your Sensei's Top, or your Soul Ring, or if you're in a pinch, your artifact lands, because it's 1 or less and they have a CMC of 0. Eldrazi Displacer is a combo with Breya, and Ashnod's Altar, you just blink Breya in infinite time by sacking, your Thopters, get 4 colorless, use the 3 of it, blinker again, net game 1 colorless, do it infinite times, get infinite Thopters, and infinite mana, and then that's going to win the game. Same thing with Nim Death Mantle, pretty much. Mirage Mirror, I like the concept of it. Not a lot of people run it, but having the best thing on the field at the time, it's pretty good for 2 mana. Rings of Bright Hearth is just kind of there for a copy effect of Planeswalkers and Basalt Monolith and just other rocks and things if I need be. It's just good to have. Grand Architect, he kind of makes all of Breya's Thopters into, since Breya comes in with blue Thopters, they just kind of all enter as Mock Sapphires. And he's a Lord. This deck has a lot of Planeswalkers. Dack Fayden is one of them, and at the worst, he says 3 mana, steal target Soul Ring, or the best artifact on the field. Or 3 mana, draw 2, discard 2. Still not bad. If you emblem, you win the game. Emblem him, you win the game. Chromatic Lantern, 4-color deck, fixes your mana. That's it, and it's a rock. Ashnod's Altar, one of the key pieces of the deck. Trophy Mage is going to come in, it's going to get you your Basalt Monolith, it's going to get you your Rings of Bright Hearth, it's going to get you your Staff of Domination, and anything else you really need be. If you're in a pinch, you can get your Commander Sphere, things like that. Tribute Mage is quite the opposite. That's to get you your 2-mana combo pieces, like Sword of the Meek, it's going to get you Thopter Foundry, or if again, you're in a pinch, it can get you Felwar Stone, and other cards like that. Trading Post, it's alright. It's kind of one of the cards I've been deciding to cut. In theory, it's really good. Even just passing and paying 1 life and making a 0/1 blocker that you can just use to sack later. Pretty solid. But, mainly it's used for the third effect of sacking a creature and getting an artifact back. And sometimes drawing a card. Clever Impersonator, it's every card for 4 mana. It's just good. Storm the Vault, it flips into a Tolarian Academy, and it also just makes some treasure. Krark Clan, just sometimes better, sometimes worse Ashnod's Altar. And it can sack itself, if need be. Sorry if I keep shaking the camera, I'm just putting my hand down. Padim gives your artifacts hexproof, and you need it to protect your artifacts, because when you're running combo, you can't have all that targeted removal. Plus, he draws cards. Because most likely you're going to have the highest CMC artifact unless an opponent's playing like Blightsteel. Unwinding Clock untaps all my rocks, untaps all my artifact lands, and, you know, just all the artifacts in general. It's just generally there to help. Urza, he comes in, makes a big boy, turns all your things into Mox Sapphires, and then if you get infinite mana, you play your entire deck. Or if you just need a reshuffle, he's just good. Solemn, he's alright, honestly. 4 mana, enters to get a basic. Well, he's really, really good in most decks, but in competitive and in 4-color, he's there because he can tutor, you know, the basic, fix your ramp for colorless, and then draw a card if need be. But, you know, if a better card comes along, I'll add it instead. Phyrexian Metamorph, kind of the same deal with Clever Impersonator, where you just get the best thing on the field. Supreme Verdict, it's an uncounterable nuke. Panharmonicon, a lot of ETB effects. There's just a lot of ETB effects, I'm sure, as you've seen, with all the mages, with Breya herself, and other cards I can't really think of right now, but we'll get there eventually. Tezzeret, Agent of Bolus. 4 mana, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put an artifact in your hand, just make an artifact a 5/5, or pretty much just zap an opponent for a lot. Pretty good either way. I mainly use them for S+ to dig for combos. Aetherflux, just laser someone for 50 once you get there. Plus Breya's, no one really knows this or cares too much about it, but her bottom effect is gain 5 life, and you start at 40. So you can use it twice, you just laser someone. Arkham Dagson is just to tutor up combo pieces. You know, play Breya, sack her, or the Thopters, or other artifact creatures you may have if you get any murder or things like that on the field. Duretti, he's just good utility. He's good guard draw. You get things back. He's just like Goblin Welder. Well, actually, Goblin Welder literally is his minus. And then if you emblem him, I won't say it's the game, but I mean, like, it's kind of a hassle to deal with. Porphyros, God of the Forge. A lot of ETB effects going on, especially with, like, tokens. So even if I pay 4 mana and play my commander, everyone takes 6 except me. Pretty good, especially when I blinker and play her an infinite amount of times. Mystic Forge is just a baby version of Bolas' Citadel. Hits your your artifacts or a colorless non-land, and there's a lot of artifacts in my artifact deck. Plus, pay 1, exile the top card. It's pretty good, pretty good. Joyra just says whenever you cast an artifact or a legendary spell, draw a card. That's why she's there, and you kind of pop off with her. You know, going back to Joyra before I skip over, this is the kind of things you use when you play your 0 mana artifacts. Like when I said with Everflowing Chalice, you can play that for 0, draw a card, or your Hangerback Walker or Walking Ballista, just free card draw in a pinch. That's why she's pretty useful, but overall, just playing any artifact to redraw, very, very good. Master Transmuter, you eat something back to your hand, do the old switcheroo from your hand, and not the grave, from your battlefield to your hand, and it's pretty good for, you know, ETB effects if you want to bring something back up, but overall, it's just to slap big boys in quick. Conjurer's Closet, a lot of ETB, so you need some blink. Kuldotha Forge Master, sack it and 2 other artifacts is usually how I use it if I need to, which is most likely the case. To search your deck for an artifact typically wins the game. Tezzeret, kind of the same thing. 4 mana hits pretty much all artifacts, or all the main combo pieces of artifacts in the deck. So if I get one of them, this guy just gives me another. I cannot speak. Scrap Mastery. Put all the artifacts in your grave on the field, and all artifacts on the field in your grave. Late game, really, really good. Acquire. Sometimes you need more than just the artifacts in your deck, and you need your opponent's artifacts. Open the Vaults is just a group hug version of Scrap Mastery that also gets back enchantments. It's really just a second copy of it. It's not super, super great because it helps your opponents, but you're probably only going to cast it if you really need it to work. Bolas' Citadel, I'm sure if you've ever played a deck with Bolas' Citadel on the field, it just wins you the game. Not even the minus 10 life, just playing the top card of your deck for free. When life is, you know, you got to remember, life is a resource until it isn't, wins you the game. He's a big chunky planeswalker. He makes your creatures cost way less and your planeswalkers cost way less, since I believe this deck has 5 or 6 planeswalkers, and it has a good amount of creatures too. And you know, your artifact creatures count for that minus affinity effect. Other than that, He brings stuff back from the grave sometimes, and he makes me gain a lot of life and deal damage. I've never ulted him, but, you know, War of the Spark's still relatively new, so let's see how it goes. Final card, Mer Battlesphere. A lot of blink effects. Works really, really well with Proforos. Works really, really well with Time Sieve. And, yeah, you get 4 mirror. You never really attack with him just because you really don't want to. He's a good blocker. 7 mana is steep, but you got to think if you have Krarkline or Ashnod's on the altar or on the field, you pay 7 mana, you get 5, assuming you can't, you get 10, assuming you can't blink it. But overall, that's a fast deck tech. 15 minutes actually is not a fast deck tech, but it's as fast as I can make it. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know how you think in the comments of what you would add or what you would change or what's in your Breya decks or what's in your artifact combo decks. Really, let me know. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. And also, like and subscribe. Always got to remember to add, like, and subscribe, and comment. Please do. Always respond to them. Anyway, have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching.